Yeah, and to mark the anniversary of the revolution, Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi delivered what was pretty much a predictable speech where he once again touted the achievements and the accomplishments of the Islamic Revolution. In a nutshell, Mr. Raisi said back in 1979 the revolution was victorious. 44 years later, we're still here and still victorious. He said that whatever challenges remain will be addressed in time. He did also mention the recent anti-government protests that were sparked back in last September with the death of Masa Amini. He called them riots. He once again suggested that these protests were fueled by Iran's enemies that wanted to destabilize Iran. He spoke directly to Iran's youth, saying that many of you were duped by the plot of Iran's foreign enemies. However, Mr. Raisi said the Islamic Republic is waiting with open arms of forgiveness for all Iranians who took part in those protests. That was the narrative pushed by Mr. Raisi and the establishment, but in Iran, there's always a competing and clashing narrative. Another narrative comes with the opponents of the Iranian government, who've long said that Iran is facing serious problems, including a spiraling economy, an oppressive government. Obviously, these opponents of the government made their voices heard during these past few months with these protests. But even with the protests, pretty much for now, seemingly dying down, these opponents of the government are still finding ways to make their voices heard, including late last night here in the capital, Tehran, local time, 9 p.m., just as the government started their fireworks celebration in numerous neighborhoods in Tehran. People were heard chanting death to the dictator. And also today, during the live coverage of the speech delivered by Mr. Raisi, the state media, the coverage was interrupted, hacked briefly with video of clearly an anti-government group that once again delivered the slogan of death to the dictator, women, life, freedom, which is the slogan of the protest. So clearly, even though street protests seemingly dying down, the voices being expressed by the opponents of the government.
The president there has also praised the decision made earlier this week by the country's supreme leader to release thousands of prisoners, including, of course, one French-Iranian academic.
Yeah, seemingly an olive branch by the supreme leader earlier this week, releasing a number of prisoners, among them Fariba Adelha, a French-Iranian university researcher, arrested back in 2019, a year later, sentenced to 5 years in prison on national security charges. She is now free. Her conditions of her freedom, not clear if she's going to be able to travel back to France. France's foreign ministry praising the release, but also saying that she was arrested and imprisoned unjustly, also demanding that Iran release numerous other French nationals that are still in custody.